now an advocate against domestic violence, hoping to create a home for victims here in Pensacola.
And when I turned back around, a shotgun was facing me and he shot me.
Williams was shot in the stomach, killing her unborn baby she had named Jamie.
She saved my life. You're not alone. You're not alone. And if I came out, you can come out.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of No More Silence. Today I got my special guest with me, Miss Carolyn Williams. Hello, Carolyn. How are you?
I am doing well, Vernon. How are you doing?
I am doing well today, and we're looking for another exciting show about No More Silence. And we got a very special guest today, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Did you want to introduce your guest?
Yes. My guest for tonight is none other than Tara Spencer. Welcome to No More Silence, Tara. We are so happy to have you with us on tonight.
Oh, thank y'all for having me. I'm excited about tonight.
Well,
I am too.
Very good. Carolyn, I'm gonna let you take the lead like you always do, and so I'm just gonna try to sit back in the driver's seat tonight because I got two beautiful young women here that can tell me this. They don't want to hear my silence. They don't want me to be silent tonight, okay? So,
all right.
I'll tell you the truth, but I want to turn it over to you, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you. All right, Tara. So let's get started. Won't you tell the guests your position and what you do? Who are you?
So, I'm Tara Spencer. I work for the Pensacola Police Department where I worked for 25 years this month. And I am a victims advocate. So, what I do is I work with victims of violent crimes, including domestic violence. And I'm the one that's there on the scene at times, depending on what's going on. I'm the one that's with the victim all the way, making sure that they understand what's next, what's coming next when they go to court, making sure that they're comfortable, that they're safe, their immediate needs are met, and then helping them to get some of their long-term needs met.
So, Tara, how long have you been doing this?
I've been working with victims since about 2019, but
Carolyn, now we done lost audio here. Carolyn, folks, we have lost both of my guests.
I'm back.
You back? Okay.
I'm
Tara,
here.
go ahead. Go
Yes.
ahead, Tara. I have lost Carolyn as well, but since I got you back, continue as you were saying, okay?
So I that's what I do for victims. I also make sure they're connected to the victims advocate. The state attorney's office have victims advocates. So if there's an arrest made, I make sure they know just what's coming next. And the biggest thing is having no idea and being fog minded when you're going through something like that. So I'm kind of their mind, their thoughts, to keep them focused on what they need to do next because they're emotional, they're going through a lot. So I'm just there to kind of keep them stable and make sure they have their needs met so that they can go on to the next phase of their life.
Okay, so you work with the city of Pensacola, and
I do.
And your title is, you said, an advocate, victim.
So
All right, I didn't lose you. I was trying to get Carolyn reconnected again.
get Carolyn back online.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Now we have her now. Here goes Miss Caroline.
Yes.
Right here.
Okay.
You're back.
I'm back. So, Tara, you say you've been doing this for how long?
So I've been in this role since 2019. I've been working with victims.
Okay. So you say you work with victims also of domestic violence, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. When you're working with them, what have you seen any kind of patterns? What's taking place? What do you see a lot of? What do you see?
So of course you see that pattern of abuse where they still go back, and we work the case, and sometimes the suspect is arrested, and yet they still go back. They know that they may not get a long time, or that they don't have the support they need because others have given up on them because they haven't done their research and understood what it takes for someone to walk away from a domestic. Just say this: you can't change someone, and you can't save them. So you have to understand that this is usually not their first time doing what they've done, unless they're young, still in high school, or straight out of college or something. They probably abused someone before you, and they know how they've developed a pattern of how to do it, how to break down your self-esteem, how to manipulate, how to keep you under their thumb. That's a huge pattern that we don't talk about. Is the pattern that the abuser has in finding those that are low self-esteem, or those that they prey on, those that don't have a lot of support. They lurk and look for those whom they can control. And so, yes, that's definitely a pattern of I've done this before, and it only gets worse with each victim. It
Yeah.
doesn't get better, it gets worse.
Wow. So, in other words, it's like they're a stalker. They know who to stalk, to go after, and make sure
Yes,
that they take that support group away from them, to
yes,
isolate them so that they can do what they want to do to them. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's anyone. You can't say, oh, it's a weak-minded woman, or it's a poor woman, or it's this kind of woman. It's women of all walks of life that end up in domestic violence relationship. They didn't plan for it to happen. Of course, they got the, what do they call it, the uh knight in shining armor syndrome, where he comes out of nowhere and he's so loving and kind. He's not going to show you who he is immediately.
Okay, so you said that you see the pattern with the man, that
Hmm.
he's been with. Okay, so therefore it must be a pattern with the woman also, that is
Hmm.
not her first abusive relationship. Have you seen that a lot?
So that's not a lot. You do
Oh,
see
okay.
that pattern sometimes, but that's not a lot all the time. Usually when they get to the point where they're calling us and where they're dealing with us. But I will say you are correct in that I don't often deal with the same victim with different men. But once I deal with a victim of domestic violence, I can guarantee you that she's had previous relationships or trauma in her life before she got to this place where she wanted help. So yes, that's a pattern. I just don't get to see it because once I get a hold of them, they're at a place where they want to change. But I can guarantee you they've had some previous trauma. It may not even be a domestic violence trauma. It could be trauma from childhood. It could be other kinds of trauma, but they
Mm-hmm.
tend to gravitate towards someone that just takes control of them.
Well, let me ask you this. So when you go on the scene, okay, walk us through that. You get a phone call. Walk us through that. Walk us through what you do
So
exactly.
usually the officers are going to the scene first because a domestic violence incident is actually one of the most dangerous calls for us to go to. It is the most dangerous call for us, as even as police officers. So I'm never going to be the first on scene. It's always going to be the officers, and then EMS if that's needed. And then once I get there, I'm going to take that victim, and my first thing is going to be to meet their immediate needs. That's going to be my first thing. If they're worried about their children, if they're just hungry, if they're unclothed, if they are whatever it is their immediate need is, I'm going to meet that, because I got to make sure that they're covered and that they're relaxed where they can begin to trust me. And then once we get from there, we're going to start working on building them back up. Where do you have to stay? Where are you going to stay tonight? Where are you going to be safe at? Who can you be with? And then not only for tonight, what are we going to do long term? Especially if they have children, because they're more prone to go back if they have children. One, if the abuser is the father of the children and threatening to take the children, or if they need support taking care of those children, they're willing to take the abuse so that the children are cared for. So I'm going to try to get them in a place where they feel like they don't have to go back.
Okay,
And
so you
then go ahead. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And then from there we're going to begin to build more. We're going to begin to build relationships, whether they go to a shelter or whether they go to a family member. But then we're also going, if there's an arrest made, hopefully there's an arrest made, there's a victims advocate with the state attorney's office that I'm going to connect them to, and together we're going to work to keep building them and strengthening them for the walk
Mhm.
that it takes to make sure this abuse is not just arrested but convicted.
Okay. Now, what I hear a lot of, Tara, is this, that I deal with the women and they say, well, okay, when the police comes out and they say that, if they don't see any abuse, abuse, any scratches or anything on them,
Mhm.
that 9 times out of 10, they're not going to arrest them. Is that true?
No, so we are actually trained. We're trained on a couple of things. One of the most recent training we've had is a strangulation training. So a lot of girls will say, "Oh, he choked me or he put his hand around my neck," and that's strangulation. And strangulation ups the charge. So we're trained into how to talk with them and find out, did you black out at any point? Did he put his hands around your neck? There are signs that they've been strangled. If they urinate on themselves, we're going to look for all those signs. Two, we're trained that bruises don't show up automatically on any race of any woman, especially a dark skinned woman. You're not going to see a bruise on me that day. And so we're trained to go back, look at them, first of all, to separate them to make sure that she feels safe. We're not going to just be like, okay, we're going to do.
All right. That's good. That's good. Have you had a case where the woman say, okay, I want to just go ahead and just stay here. I don't want to go anywhere because
within a certain amount of time, which is usually 24 to 48 hours, to get a pager.
to have on the abuser to have on the monitor, they have to pay, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Oh,
That
okay.
is
Because
correct.
I
And then if they
found that
can't
out.
pay,
What's going to happen then?
so at that point it depends on the evidence that we have. Our job is to build as great of a case as we can against the suspect, but sometimes the greatest.
In pictures, you take your
Yes.
own picture, put your own
Yes.
evidence. Yeah, keep
Yes.
your journal. Have your journal
Yes.
with dates and everything on it. You can do that in the meantime, because the more evidence you have, the better it would be. Because I was wondering about that, because I was wondering if they drop it, then with the state's attorney's office, would they still pick it up? So in other words, if they have the evidence, then they will pick it up. They will.
And then they will get a check for $1,000. All they have to do is show the receipts of their relocation. So they can show a receipt for a bus ticket, they can show a receipt for a new home, they can show a receipt for a plane ride, whatever they want to do, long as that money goes towards for them moving out of where they were. So that's the main thing that I'm going to offer them, is the relocation, because that's something that we can do quickly and we can get them moved to another place. They can still be in contact with the state attorney's office. They can still make sure that they show up for cases. We'll work with them. We'll do whatever we can with them. If they want to leave town, if they have family out of state, that's fine. They're not held here because they're not the defendant. They're not the suspect. So they can go wherever they like. That's the first thing, is the victims compensation fund, to help them move. Other than moving them into a shelter or moving them with family, we do the best we can.
Wow, that is so great. So you guys are doing everything you can so that they can get out of that situation. If it's finance,
Yes.
you need a room, you need clothing, whatever
Yes.
you need, they are able to provide that for you. So many times there's victims out there that they don't know what is available to them. And that's what keeps
Yes.
them stuck. It's because of finances.
Yes.
But now we know that at the Pensacola Police Department, you have Tara Spencer, and she would do, I know her personally, so she would do whatever she can to be able to help you. Now, listen,
Yes.
she even go beyond that. She does things that is not in her job description, because her thing is she want you to be safe. So if you're in a domestic violence relationship, give us a number that they can get in contact with you, Tara. Do you have a number they can get in contact with you?
I do. So I have a cell number, 850 285-9211. Again, that's 850-285-9211. You can call or text that number. And let me just say this. When I speak to domestic violence victims, my initial contact with them, it doesn't have to be that you're calling the police.
You're there to help
No.
them. And you realize that,
Yes.
hey, not all the time. So many times people think they only have to call a person when they want to get out. But you saying, no,
Yes.
you might not be ready to come out, but you can help them with a plan. You can tell them about the information that you have to offer for them. And all that is so great. So also you can call Favor House at 850-434 6600. You can also call Jamie's house. That's what I have, 850-291-4624. And you can also go to the website www.jamieshouse.org, and then you call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is 1-800-799-7233. Victims, if you're out there, what we're trying to get you to understand and the information we're trying to get to you on tonight is to let you know that you are not alone. There is help. He wants you to think, the one that is abusing you, he wants you to think that you cannot come out. And you can't come out if you're silent. But if you pick up the phone, and even with me and Tara, if you call, she's not gonna say anything. She's not gonna divulge that information. But I'm telling you, if you call her, you need to make sure that you delete the phone numbers. If you're calling Favor House, you need to call and make sure that you're deleting the phone numbers. If you're getting on the website to get information, get the information, and then you need to delete it. Because I'm telling you, it's like they know when you're getting ready to leave. They kind of figure out that person is getting tired because they've done it before. And one thing they don't want you to do is to leave them. So Tara, what other support do you have from them? I know we don't. I want to touch on this. What if an individual get killed and they don't have any insurance? What happens then?
So the Victims Compensation Fund also pays for that. So it pays up to $7,500 for a death, for a homicide, which is what we call it. And so if you have a family member that unfortunately is killed due to domestic violence, then we can file for victims compensation and it'll pay up to $7,500 for the funeral. What they'll also do is pay for the children. If that victim was working at the time of their death and they have children, the Florida's Victims Compensation will pay for loss of support for those children. It's not a whole lot of money. It's only like a small percentage, but it's better than nothing. They will also help with counseling for those children. So there are several places within Pensacola where we can get free counseling for the children. We want to make sure those children are getting counseling as well. And then if it gets to where they have to have long-term counseling, Victims Compensation will pay for those children to have counseling, and also for siblings of that deceased person and for the parents of that deceased person.
Well, Tara, let me ask you something else too. What about as far as with child care and food stamp? Do they have to wait for their child care? Do they have to wait for food stamp or anything like that? How does that work if they need?
So a lot of times if they go to a shelter, the shelter will help them walk through those steps, or myself or another victims advocate will help them walk through those steps to get those processes done. And a lot of times we do our best to try to call them and say, hey, this is the situation, this is what they're going through, and they're doing their best to make sure that this person goes to jail. They are cooperating with us, they're cooperating with the state attorney's office. What can we do to get this done quicker? I cannot promise that it always happens, but it does happen quicker for us to make sure that person has what they need so that they don't go back and so that they don't give up, because it's a hard thing. You're basically losing everything to start a new life when you go through this. And so we want to make sure that they have hope and that they don't feel like they've lost out on everything.
Wow, Tara, I thank you so much. Vernon, do you want to ask Tara anything? Do you want to ask her anything? Wow, I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful, Tara, of you coming on and
Yes,
letting us know everything that's available. And you
of
said something.
course.
It's not just for domestic violence. You say it's for any victim,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
It's not.
yes,
No, okay.
yes. So
Yeah.
the funeral cost is for any victim of a homicide. The you can file on your own on the Florida Attorney General's website, Ashley Moody, or you can file with one of the victims advocates with the Pensacola Police Department or Sheriff's Department. There are rules and regulations and what you can and can't, but it's not my job to decide. We are trained to file the application, and it is up to them whether they want to approve it or deny it. So if someone say you cannot apply for it, you can apply for it. It is not for us to tell you can or cannot receive it. So there are cases where I've saw people that have been denied, but there are a lot of cases where people that were told that they couldn't apply for it did, and they were approved. And so, and I also want to thank our partners. You've talked about our domestic violence partners, but I'm grateful to there are funeral homes that work with those that have to apply for those funds, and they'll work with them to wait and see if they're approved and go ahead and do the funeral. I appreciate Joe Morris and Tracy Morton have worked with victims of these families, and they have done amazing work. So I'm so grateful to them while we apply for this, and they let people know about these funds that are available for them. And so that's for anyone that's a victim of a homicide.
Ladies, it's been a great discussion. You know, time flies when you're having fun. It's very, very informational. So we're gonna have to
Yes, it
give
does.
it up. So I'm gonna give you ladies 10 seconds each to wrap it up. Okay?
Well, Tara, I really do enjoy. I'm so glad you was able to come on. And guess what?
Yes.
This would not be your last time because I thought of some more things. So this would not be your
I'm
last time.
sure you
And
did.
I'm back again. A wealth of
Yes,
information. You want to say
anytime.
anything before? Give your phone number again before we close out.
My phone number is 850-285-9211. You can call or you can text. And please, if you call, just leave me a voicemail. Let me know what you're calling about. And I know if I need to call you back or not, because I don't want to call you at the wrong time and get you in trouble, because I do understand if you're in a domestic violence situation, your partner may be upset if you get a call from me. So please call me, text me. And also, sometimes we don't know what domestic violence is. It's not always physical. So I don't care if you call me and ask me a question and say, I think I'm in a domestic violence relationship. Please call me. This is a no judgment zone. This is my job and it's what I do, and I love what I do.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight with my guest Tara and also with Vernon. But we'll see you next month. Next month.
Yes.
We'll be with you next month on the fourth
Yes.
Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock. And we look forward to seeing you then. Good night.
Bye,
Yes.
everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you for